31 days later, your father will be stabbed in a parking lot. But first, you become European champion. July 14th, 2024, Berlin Olympic Stadium, 71,000 people. The Euro 2024 final against England, the day right after your birthday. You're playing in the final at 17 years old. Spain wins the final 2-1. You're named the tournament's best young player. Millions of people are watching you. Everyone is talking about your name. But 31 days later, your phone rings. And in that moment, all those victories, trophies, stadiums, you realize none of it matters. You get the news that your father, Munir, has been stabbed in a parking lot in your own neighborhood, Rocafonda. But how did it come to this? The answer is in 1990, on a bus in Morocco, and hidden in the courage of a single woman. A bus, Morocco, 1990. Your grandmother Fatima gets on a bus alone. She's packed a few clothes in her suitcase and has a dream of the future in her eyes. She sneaks onto the bus without money for a ticket. She's setting out to go from Morocco to Spain, a woman alone crossing a continent. In Mataró, she works non-stop morning, afternoon, and night shifts. She saves money to bring her son Munir and her daughter from Morocco to Spain. Years pass. Munir comes. He studies at university in Salamanca, then he drops out and becomes a painter in Barcelona. Your mother, Sheila, she's from Equatorial Guinea. She emigrated to Spain with her mother. She met your father while working at McDonald's. 2 continents, 2 immigrant stories. And you, right in the middle, are born on July 13th, 2007, Rocafonda, Mataró. After you were born, your family moved to Rocafonda, a neighborhood in Mataró. Years later, El País will describe this neighborhood as forgotten, isolated, and stigmatized. According to Spain's National Statistics Institute, half of the families live below the poverty line. A third of the residents are of immigrant origin. Concrete blocks, narrow streets, dusty pitches where kids fight from morning to night. But you are very happy here. After every goal, you make the 304 sign with your fingers. Those are the last 3 digits of this neighborhood's postal code, because this is your home. You are 3 years old. You learn everything in your neighborhood. You grow up among concrete towers and alleyways where kids fight over the sports pitches from morning to night. Your father signs you up for CF La Torreta, a small amateur club a few kilometers away, not because he sees you as a future champion, but because you can't stand still for a single second when you see a ball, and nothing else in the world matters anymore. You are 5 years old. The club's director, Inocente Diz Lázaro, can no longer watch the training sessions the same way as before. Years later, he gives a speech. At 5 years old, his ball control and speed were absolutely unrelated to the level of the other children in his age group. You are 7 years old. Isidre Gil, Barcelona's historic talent spotter for the Maresme region, comes to a training session. The same man had previously discovered Arnaud Tenas and Marc Guiu. He watches one training session and leaves with an absolute conviction, and no matter what, right at this point, things unexpectedly start to get complicated. La Masia, rules are broken. At 7 years old, you join La Masia. That was already extraordinary. But what was even more extraordinary was that Barca broke its own rules for you. Normally, players from outside Catalonia can stay at La Masia, but your situation was different. Parents separated, home split between Mataró and Granollers, no transportation. For the first time in the club's history, they make an exception. La Masia director Xavi Martín asks you, "Would you like to live here with us?" You look at the ground without saying anything. Then you lift your head and smile. Yes. Years later, Martín says that child was used to looking at the ground. A local hairdresser who knew your grandmother well said the kids in Mataró would wear their club tracksuits to school so everyone would know. But Lamine never did that, not once. He never let on that he was at Barca. You are 12 years old, and there's a problem. La Masia detects something worrying. Your study habits are deteriorating. Your sleep schedule is falling apart. Your nutrition is literally getting worse. The social reality around you is complex. Journalist Xavi Torres said, "The system didn't give this profile many opportunities," and Torres didn't hesitate. La Masia saved Lamine Yamal, because without the structure, discipline, and support that the club provided you at that moment, you could have disappeared into the streets like so many other neighborhood talents. Jordi Rura, Xavi Villajuana, and Xavi Martin made a joint decision. If this kid is a gamble for the club, we have to see it through to the end. And as they said, they saw it through. April 29th, 2023, Barca versus Real Betis, minute 83. You step onto the pitch against Real Betis. 15 years, 9 months, 16 days. You become the youngest player in Barcelona's history, a record that had stood since 1922. Even though you're only on the pitch for a few minutes, your shots on goal and classy passes bring the Camp Nou stands to their feet. A few weeks later, Barca become champions. While you're celebrating, your school notebooks are still in your bag. 2023 to 24, a downpour of records. After Ousmane Dembélé leaves the team, they put you on the right wing, and you become one of the starting players. October 2023, you score your first goal against Granada, and at 16 years, 87 days, you become the youngest goal scorer in La Liga history the same month. Against Porto, you start in the Champions League and break the record for the youngest starting player in the tournament's history. Then, in the Spanish Super Cup and the Champions League, you break the youngest assist/goal records one by one. Inter Milan coach Simone Inzaghi says this after seeing you: Yamal is a once-in-50-years talent. Seeing him this close really impressed me. Summer 2024, Euro 2024. You could have worn the colors of Morocco or Equatorial Guinea at the international level, but you chose to play for Spain, where you were born and raised. In September 2023, you make your first national team appearance against Georgia and score a goal. That makes you the youngest player and goal scorer in Spain's history. Semi-final, Munich. France is your opponent. The Allianz Arena is blazing 2 days before your birthday. You receive the ball at the edge of the penalty area. You shift it with your shoulder. With your left foot, you make a curve shot and the ball sticks in the top corner. Maignan just watches without even moving. Everyone watches the goal on the big screen in disbelief. You will say, I don't really know where that shot came from either. Final Berlin, England. Spain wins 2-1. You are European champion at 17 years old. Throughout the tournament, along with Nico Williams on the left wing, you two literally carried Spain on your backs. From the right wing, you mesmerized football fans with your killer passes into the opponent's box and your dribbling. And then a photo spreads. It was taken in 2007 at a Barca charity event. In the photo, Lionel Messi is giving a little baby a bath. That baby is you, because you're left-footed, cut in from the right wing, and have incredible close control. You're constantly compared to Lionel Messi, but you manage this pressure with composure and feel compelled to state, I want to write my own story. August 14th, 2024, 31 days later. You're driving around with your cousin. Suddenly, your phone rings. You get the news. Your father, Munir, has been stabbed in a parking lot in Rocafonda. He took 3 knife blows to the chest and ribs. He's been taken to Kanruti Hospital. The reason for the incident is even more unsettling. In the afternoon, a child poured water on Munir from a balcony. An argument broke out. The police came and the matter seemed closed. But in the evening, the same people called Munir and said, let's make peace. When Munir went to the meeting spot, 4 men were waiting for him with knives and stones, and there they stabbed your father. As soon as you hear the news, you want to buy a train ticket immediately. Your family stops you and tells you to stay calm. They explain that the tension in the neighborhood is very high right now. The next morning, you go to training. In the afternoon, you rush to your father's side. 10 days later, you start the new season as if nothing had happened. 2024 to 25, explosion. 55 matches, 18 goals, 25 assists. El Clásico, Santiago Bernabéu. Barca completely dismantles Real Madrid 4-0. In this match, you also score, becoming at 17 the youngest goal scorer in Clásico history. Copa del Rey final, 2 assists against Real Madrid, 3-2. You win your first Copa, La Liga Championship, Supercopa Championship, a domestic treble. You've won many trophies at 17 17, but in most countries you can't even get a driver's license. 2025 to 26, he doesn't stop. 16 goals, 11 assists in La Liga, the league's top assist provider, 6 goals, 4 assists in the Champions League. You score your career's first hat-trick against Villarreal. You become the youngest hat-trick scorer in 21st century La Liga. You break a record that Messi hadn't broken since 2007, 11 successful dribbles completed in a single match. You finish second in the Ballon d'Or. You win the Copa Trophy for the second consecutive time, the first time anyone has done that in history. Barca gives you the number 10 jersey, the one Messi wore from 2009 to 2021. Your contract is extended until 2031. Your release clause is set to 1 billion euros. That's Barca's way of saying, no, we're not selling this one. 2026 World Cup. This is your first World Cup. You participate at 18 years, 11 months old. Spain, as the Euro 2024 champions, are among the favorites, and you are still one of the few players who can set the stadium alight every time you touch the ball. But there's a problem. Your last match was on April 22nd, so you've been injured since April. You're on the team roster, but everyone is thinking the same question. Is Yamal ready for the World Cup? The 2026 World Cup has just begun, but this much we know. Even when this kid was being pushed out of the system at age 12, he came back. An injury? That's just a detail. Legends and truths. They say Yamal was born into a wealthy family. In reality, his grandmother snuck from Morocco to Spain on a bus. His father was a painter. His mother worked at McDonald's. In Rocafonda, half of the families live below the poverty line. They say getting into La Masia was easy, but Barca even broke its own rules for him. For the first time in history, they allowed a player from outside Catalonia to stay at the academy, and at 12 years old, they were about to lose him. It wasn't pushing him out of the system, but bringing him into the system that saved him. Most people say Yamal was just born perfect. In reality, at 12 years old, his sleep was disrupted, his nutrition had worsened, he had stopped studying. Without La Masia's structure, he might never have set foot on the pitch. Sometimes they say the photo with Messi was a coincidence. Yes, it might be a coincidence, but sometimes coincidences write history. In 2007, Messi gives a baby a bath. That baby, 17 years later, wears his number 10 shirt. If it were you, at 17 years old, would you have stepped onto the pitch 10 days after your father was stabbed? Write your answers in the comments. Let's see who would dare to do that. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss our new stories.